A woman told a story. She said she has 2 dogs. She lives alone with her 2 dogs. She said when she goes to work in the morning, she locks them in the house, leaves food and stuff for them, but they're in the house and they're safe. She said when she goes out, she makes everything humanly possible to be safe. She protects herself throughout the day because she wants to get back to her dogs. She said so when she's crossing the street, she thinks about her dogs. That, she can't get crushed by a car because her dogs are at home. She said if there's an argument somewhere, she makes sure she avoids that place because she doesn't want to get hurt because of her dogs. She said she makes sure that she leaves work on time so she can catch the correct train so she's not late home for her dogs. She said she does this throughout the day, and when she gets home, she opens the door and the dogs come leaping and bounding onto her. She knows it's been all worthwhile. This is a true story. She said it's been all worthwhile, and she does that every day. Anytime she leaves the house, she thinks about her dogs. Now, Proverbs says a foolish son hates his mother. So, a foolish son will join a bad gang. He doesn't care that he might get killed or he might do illegal things and break his mother's heart. A foolish son hates his mother. If he's not foolish, he will not want to cause heartache or pain to his mom. If somebody calls him and says, come, let's go and do this wicked thing together, he thinks of his mom and says, no, I don't want to do it because if anything happens, it's my mom who's going to be hurt. She's the one who's going to be crying. She's the one who's going to be running up and down, not you guys. You're all going to run and leave me alone. So a foolish son hates his mother. You see, in the case of the woman with the dogs, she's thinking about her dogs constantly. She keeps herself safe. So a foolish son hates his mother. He doesn't love his mother. God uses evil people for a day of punishment. Remember in the book of Habakkuk, Habakkuk said, God, how can you use Babylon to punish Judah? Babylon are even worse than Judah. They are more wicked. So how can you use them to punish Judah, who are not even that wicked? And God said, you don't worry. After I have used Babylon to punish Judah, I will now punish Babylon. God uses evil people for a day of punishment. A bad wife causes trouble for her husband. So a wife who goes out and finds trouble, brings trouble to the door, they come around, they start beating up the husband, they start shouting and yelling and cursing. I've seen a case where a woman went out, she beat up another woman. The husband of that woman she beat up came to the house and beat up her husband because his wife beat up his wife. Really beat the man up. There was blood everywhere. And he said, if your wife dare touch my wife again, I will come back and beat you more than that. So you see, a bad woman causes trouble for her husband. A quiet answer reduces anger. A quiet answer, a soft answer, turns away anger. And we could see this one in Joshua 22. When the 2.5 tribes decided to go back to the eastern side of the Jordan because they've helped their brothers conquer the land. If you remember, it's in the book of Joshua, which I have taught. And when they crossed the Jordan to the eastern side, they decided to build an altar. So when the people at the western side heard about this altar, they wanted to wage war against their brothers, that they decided to build their own altar. They're going to cause trouble to the whole tribes and And so when they went there, fortunately, the eastern tribes decided to answer softly and said, no, that's not why we built this altar. We don't want in years to come for your children to tell our children that you're not part of us because you don't live on that side of the Jordan. That's why we built it. It's just as a monument, for all of us. So when your children see it, they will know that we are also part of you. And their answer satisfied those who went to wage war. And that was how calamity was averted. A soft answer turns away wrath. He who finds a wife finds a treasure. This is the right place now to tell you that Proverbs are not promises. Proverbs are not promises. They are just words of wisdom so that we will know how to live our life, our day-to-day life. So he who finds a wife finds treasure. So in case you find a wife and she's not a treasure, you can't blame it on God. and say, God, but your word says that he who finds a wife finds a treasure, and my wife is not a treasure. Proverbs are not promises. They are not promises. They are not 100% certainty. It's like saying, if you eat an apple a day, you know, it keeps the doctor away. And you know that healthy people, they still fall sick. There's some people who are always in the gym, they still need the doctor. So it's a way of us to live our lives. You know, I mean, there's no saying about it. Those who are healthy, they have less diseases, less body physical ailments than those who are not. But it's still no guarantee that you're going to live forever. One day you still die. So these are just wisdom, you know, words of wisdom for us to live our lives. So you can't blame God if you marry a wife and she's not a treasure. You can't blame God for that. You were the one who got carried away by her beauty. You got dazzled. You did not check her character. You did not check her attitude. You didn't like find out from family and friends. You just got blown away and say, well, the Bible says he who finds a wife finds a treasure. You know, and then we'll go swiftly on to Proverbs 19:3. People ruin their lives by their own foolishness. Then they blame God. You see, Proverbs 19:3, people ruin their own lives by their own foolishness, their own decisions, and then they blame God. A gossip betrays confidence. Avoid anyone who talks too much. So, you know, a gossip, if somebody comes to you and they're always gossiping about somebody else, be rest assured is going to gossip about you to somebody else. It's 100% guarantee. I can tell you that from experience. You know, when I also found out that someone was talking about me and I was upset because I sent him a message which is forwarded on to somebody else, and I thought, why would he do that? And I was so upset. You know, my husband said, why are you upset? He's always telling you about other people. So what made you think that he's not going to talk about you to others? So a gossip betrays confidence. Avoid somebody who talks too much. Don't make a rash vow. You know, don't make a rash vow. Remember Jephthah in Judges. Jephthah made a vow to God. If he gives him victory over the Ammonites, he will dedicate or sacrifice whatever comes out first to meet him when he's coming back home from the battle. You remember? And he thought it might be one of the animals. Instead, it was his daughter, his only child, who came out dancing to meet her dad. And Jephthah cried and said, what have you done to me? You have turned this day into a day of sorrow, a day of mourning, a day of grief for me, because this is the vow I have made to the Lord. And he had to fulfill the vow. So don't make a rash promise. A quarrelsome wife is like a leaky tap. If you have had a leaky tap, you know, the drip, 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 drip is annoying. And that is how a quarrelsome wife is. There was a man that was asked that, how do you live with your wife? She nags and nags and nags and drips and drips and drips. How do you cope? Tell us the secret. He said, I am a bit deaf, so I wear hearing aids. When my wife starts, I turn it off. I turn both off, so I can't hear her. I just see her mouth going, opening, but I can't hear a thing. All I do is sit there and nod as if I am listening to her. I just nod and nod and nod. When I see her mouth shut, then I know she has finished talking. Then I put my hearing aid back on. That's the only way I've been able to survive all these years. You know, so a quarrelsome wife is like a dripping, 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 dripping tap. When justice is done, good people are happy, but bad people are not. When justice is done, there was a rule that was brought in some time ago at some organization, which says that everybody, including managers, they all have to clock in and clock out. So no more arriving late and leaving early. So the floor staff, they were happy about it because they always had to arrive early, and they couldn't leave even on their time without the managers saying okay they could go. But the managers, they could come in whenever they want and they could leave whenever they want. So the managers were not happy, but the floor staffs were like, yeah, good, now we're all here together. So they were happy. So when justice is done, good people are happy, but bad people are not. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. Remember Pharaoh's army, They had all this army, all these horses, all these chariots. They pursued the Israelites right down to the Red Sea. What happened to them? Even with all their armor, all their battle thing, Israel had nothing really. They only had, well, they didn't have nothing. They had Jehovah, they had Yahweh. But in terms of equipment, battle equipment, they were not soldiers. They were not men of war. They had been slaves. But victory rests with the Lord. And, we know what happened to them in the Red Sea. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. A lot of parents do this, constantly working. They leave their children. They don't have time for the children. They leave the children with nannies and minders who end up abusing the kids. Some of these kids cannot tell the parents what they are facing when they go out to work. They are there because the person, the perpetrator, has threatened them that if you dare say, or they've made them so scared that if you say your mom's gonna die, your dad's gonna die. So these children, they have to keep quiet. They're going through so much anguish. Why? Because the parents are striving to make all this money. The money that you are making, and your own child is going through hell. So Solomon says, do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not move an ancient landmark. Do not move an ancient landmark. There was a couple who bought a pub in a village. A pub is a beer parlor, where people go to drink. A salon, a saloon in America, I think it's called a saloon. They bought this pub, and they started refurbishing. So they moved the piano from one place, they moved the dartboard, they moved so many things. And the locals just stopped going there. They stopped plying the pub. Nobody went inside. It was like a ghost town. So after about a month, they had not sold a thing, and they had a mortgage to pay. So the landlord and landlady now were going around the village asking, what is the matter? Why isn't anybody coming into the pub? The time when they came to look around to buy it, they saw that the place was bustling. It was very busy. Even there was no place to sit. It was standing room only. But for a month now, they haven't sold a thing. What's going on? So the locals now told them that when you came, you're supposed to ask us, the locals, that what do we want? You can't just start refurbishing the place. You remove the piano. We need that piano. When we come in weekends, somebody sits on the piano and plays it. The rest of us sing. We all dance. We start drinking. We eat. We're having a good time. The dartboard, we do competitions every weekend. We have teams and we play this dartboard. You removed it. So they started telling them that you removed all these things. That's why we decided we're not going to come there anymore. So we even were thinking of opening our own pub. So these people now had to bring all those things back. They apologized furiously, saying they thought they were sprucing up the place. They're sorry. So they had to bring everything back. And then the locals all came back and everybody was happy. So do not remove the landmark. You don't know why it was there. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls. This is another proverb. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls. Remember Edom in the book of Obadiah. They were rejoicing, they were happy because Judah was being captured. They were pursuing them. They even joined in with the enemies against their own brothers. And God said that because of what you have done, He's going to punish them. They will disappear from the face of the earth. And God punished them. So do not rejoice when your enemy falls. Because your own punishment will come. If God sees it, He will be displeased. And your own punishment will come. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. So put your outdoor work in order before you build your house. If you are living with your parents, or if you do not have a job, you cannot marry a wife. You're not supposed to marry a wife. It doesn't make any sense. You have to put your outdoor work in order first before you build your house. If you are living with your parents, the first thing you have to do is to get your own place. Move out, get your own place, get a job, get all the things ready. Then you marry. Then bring your wife home. You can't marry and then live in one room in your parents' house and your parents are now feeding both of you. That doesn't make any sense. So put your outdoor work in order before you build your house. A man who flatters his neighbors spreads a net for their feet. There are some people who come onto the X Factor or Britain's Got Talent and they start singing. God Almighty. Their voice is diabolical. it's like they are tone deaf. And when they start singing, when they come out, they're so confident, you know, yeah, I can sing. And then Simon asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? They say, a worldwide tour, I'll be known all over the world. And then they start singing. And it's like, oh my goodness. You know, and I think when they see the look on the judges' faces, they think that they're doing really good. They're doing really, really well. And not knowing that, in fact, it's the worst voice ever. And then Simon always asks, who told you you can sing? They say, my family and my friends and my neighbors, they all come around when I'm singing and they're all having a nice time. And even they encourage me to come on this show, that everyone needs to see my talent. And Simon says, you can't sing. And they say, we can. You can't sing. He says, we can. You see, because it says, a man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for their feet. They have been deceived by the family, by the friends, by the neighbors, that they can sing. So they now came to the public place to disgrace themselves. So don't flatter anyone. If someone is bad, you know, I mean, maybe you don't want to tell them that they're bad, but you shouldn't tell them that they're good when they're not. You know, there should be a subtle way of letting them know, you know, okay, go for more lessons. Okay, why don't I pay for lessons for you so that you can, you know, improve more. There's a subtle way you should tell them. Don't tell someone that they're really great and then they go out there and make a fool of themselves. Because I'm pretty sure some of them, when they watch the tapes back, after they've appeared on the telly, they cringe themselves that, what? I was like this and you let me go on the show. So anyway, Proverbs, most of it is by Solomon and some are not Solomon. So not all of them are Solomon's. The book of Proverbs is a compilation of Proverbs. You know, some were directly from Solomon, some were by other people like King Lemuel and others, you know, and some are anonymous writers, all compiled into this book called Proverbs. So if we remember in 2nd Chronicles, after Solomon offered the burnt offering, God appeared to him and said, ask me what you want and I'll give it to you. And Solomon asked for wisdom. Because he said, I don't know how to lead these your people. They are vast. I don't know how to lead them. And God said, because you did not ask for wealth or long life, I will give you the wisdom and I will give you wealth and the long life as well. So Solomon became the wisest man on earth. Even the Queen of Sheba in 1 Kings, she visited because she'd heard of his wisdom. She heard of his wealth. She came to visit. She asked him hard questions, which he answered everything. And at the end, even she marveled and said, even what I was told is nothing compared to what I have witnessed here, what I have seen myself. You are indeed wise. You are indeed blessed by your God. She told him that. And in 1 Kings 4, it tells us that Solomon spoke 3,000 proverbs and he wrote 1,005 songs. He spoke of trees, animals, birds, reptiles, and fishes. So you see, he was knowledgeable in a lot of subjects, not just one. You know, he had this vast array of wisdom, this knowledge about him. So as I said, Proverbs is not a promise. It's not promises. They are a way for us to live our life, you know. So it's for us to be wise. So when we follow, you know, you have to be wise. So at the beginning, Solomon is talking to his son and he's advising him on things on like how to live. Solomon is now old, he's wise, he has seen a lot of things, you know, and he tells him not to follow evil people, not to join people. Even there's a proverb that they always tell us that if 10 of you go to the market, you know, 10 of you went to the market to buy something, and your leader, the leader of the 10, because there's always somebody who will lead, he has collected all the goods. So it's now remaining for him to pay. And he checks his pocket. He says, my wallet is, I left it in the car. I'm coming. He takes the goods and he goes. And all the 9 of you are waiting. And then one by one, the others now start going. This one says, okay, I'm coming. Let me go and see why he's taking long. This one says, all right, let me go and check this shop to buy something. One by one. And you are the last one there. And you also didn't leave. They have sold you. You are the one who is going to pay for all those goods, because the shop owner is not going to let you go. Everyone else has gone and you were sitting down there waiting. So Solomon was telling his son that when they ask you to join together to do evil together, it's a lie. When they ask you that, come, let's do this, at the end they will probably kill you to take everything for themselves. So you shouldn't join in. Job asked, he said, where is wisdom found? He said, it's not in the deep, it's not in the sea, it's not on top of the mountain. He said, God understands the way to it. He alone knows where it dwells. So if you want wisdom, just pray to God and he will give it to you. It's not found on the mountain, it's not found in the sea. God alone knows where it dwells. Do not go after another person's spouse. It is wrong. There was a guy that I knew. He was dating another man's wife. When the man goes to work in the night, he goes to spend the night there. He has been doing it for months. One day after a tip-off, the man came home early. He got a sharp machete. He was going to kill the guy. The guy jumped from the story to the floor. He broke his leg. The time I knew him, he walked with a limp. Very handsome guy. He walked with a limp. It was one day when someone asked him that, what happened to your leg? He narrated the story. He was sleeping with another man's wife. He was lucky to escape with his life. And now he advises young guys not to go for another man's wife. See, now he walks with a limp. It's a permanent reminder of what he did. So so if we also remember, now Solomon is advising his son. You also know David, he also advised Solomon to obey God's law in 1 Kings 2. He told him to obey God's law, his commands, his rules, and he would be successful. So Solomon is telling his son not to forget his words, wear it on his heart, wear it around his neck. The wisdom will increase his years on earth. He will not die before his time. A politician will say anything for votes, anything, but heed unto God's word. God's word will not lead you astray. So if you don't listen to the wise, you will regret it when you are old and your life is wasted. A lot of old men today, they sit down there and they are regretting their wasted years. They sit down, they start counseling the younger ones and tell them, this is what we were told then, we did not listen, we did not heed, now it's too late, please don't make the same mistake, don't make the same mistake. They start saying all these things. He was telling his son not to be lazy, you shouldn't sleep too much, learn from the ants. You see the ants, they're always going about packing their food and everything. Don't just sleep. Don't be tempted by prostitutes, don't be tempted by them at all. A prostitute will call you and tell you to come, it's sweet, it's sweet, it's sweet. It's a slippery slope. Once you go into it, some men, they are now addicted to prostitutes. Even though they are married, they still can't stop. They are always still going, giving them their salary to pay. It was something that they entered into when they were young, and now they can't get out of it. So he was saying all these things to his son in the first 9 chapters of Proverbs. Unfortunately, if the son was the Rehoboam, he never listened, because it was under Rehoboam that the kingdom split into 2, because he didn't heed the advice of the old wise men. He listened to the young foolish guys, and the kingdom was split into 2. And then the last chapter, chapter 31, talks about the perfect wife. It's a poem about the perfect wife. King Lemuel tells us this. His mom told him about the perfect wife, a woman who fears God, looks after her home, looks after her husband, looks after her children. So anyway, go and read the book of Proverbs. In it you will find life. You will find everything that you need to live a long and peaceful life. In it you will know how to react with people. Then sometimes you talk and then sometimes you don't. Then sometimes you can give advice and then sometimes you don't give advice. You just keep quiet, because some people will not listen. Then sometimes you share your testimonies. Then sometimes you don't, because they will belittle your testimony and mock it and just turn it into rubbish. So read the book of Proverbs. It's 31 chapters, so you can read the chapter a day for a month and you will get lots of gems inside. So God bless you. Thank you for being with me in this journey. Consider subscribing and hit the notification button, so when I upload another video, you'll be notified immediately. Thank you. Bye.